Right, perfect. Well, thank you all again for joining this evening. I am in the East Coast, so it's 6 p.m. here. Maybe if you are Mountain, it may be 4 where you are, or Pacific, it could be 3 p.m. But wherever you are, I hope it's nice and sunny and the weather is beautiful for you. And again, I want to extend my sincerest appreciation for your time joining me for this workshop. This evening's topic is going to be about salary negotiation. My name is Lola Clayton. I'm a career advisor here at WGU, and I work along a great amount of people with a wealth of knowledge within the Career and Professional Development Center. As a matter of fact, this evening, alongside me that is assisting during this workshop is McCall Sears. She is also in the chat box. So if you have any questions, McCall will be moderating your questions. You'll hear me just kind of lean into her to see if there's any questions in the chat throughout our workshop and our time together. So please feel free to ask your questions throughout the presentation. You do not have to hold them till the end unless there is some specific questions that require just an extended amount of detail or information or a long response. Then I may hold that one to the end, or I may just send you my email address and then we can schedule a one-on-one appointment. But for right now, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. My only request is that you put a Q in front of them. Therefore, as McCall is looking through the chat box, she can see what is questions versus what is testimonials or any other type of context that you would like to share. As we get started, of course, please feel free to move around, stretch, take care of yourself. That's very, very important. We do have the next 50 minutes together. So if you need to tend to your family, by all means, please do so. My one and only request is that you remain muted throughout the presentation in consideration for others as well, and in consideration for the recording. So just make sure that there are you remain muted at all times, just in case you have distractions or anything in the background, and then that won't get caught up in the recording. If you have any questions, perhaps you would like to schedule a one-on-one appointment, or you have questions about the content within this particular workshop, on the screen is an email to our department, which is at careers@wgu.edu. You can also give us a call. We accept walk-in advising hours each and every day from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mountain. So you can call us at that number that you see on the screen, and an advisor will be more than happy to return your call within that same day. And friendly reminder, the presentation is being recorded, which means it'll be sent out to you within 48 hours. So you'll get a link. It'll be a YouTube link to the recording of this workshop. Therefore, if you need to hop off or leave for any reason, please feel free again to take care of yourself. If you're still working, please do so. The recording will be sent to you, so you'll have an opportunity to catch up on any of the information that was presented. All right, so taking a quick look at our agenda, we'll talk about a few things this evening. We'll talk about the art of salary negotiation. Really, really important. How do you present it? Do you just walk up to the employer and say, look, this is the amount that I want to make? Is that how you go about doing it? So what is the art of salary negotiation? How do you propose and launch that conversation? Secondly, we will talk about identifying what you are negotiating. Most commonly, what's negotiated is your compensation, your salary, or the amount of money that you're intended to make. But are there other things that can be negotiated in that compensation? Is it a package? So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll review a few sample negotiation conversations. Maybe these examples that are presented could be something that you faced or you may encounter in the future as you approach a job search or you acquire an offer. Another thing that we will discuss is how to approach multiple offers. That happens. Perhaps you're the commodity. You've applied for a few positions. You are a rock star and you have totally knocked out the box each interview that you've had. So how do you entertain multiple offers, and what decision making can assist you with that? And then, of course, asking clarifying questions. We'll close up with that in conclusion, extend gratitude, and then set a firm timeline for your decision. Very, very important. So question for the group. This looks like it's a nice size group this evening. So far, I see about 40 people logged on, 40 or so. So question for the group, please put your responses in the chat, and you can put A, B, or C. At what stage should you consider negotiating your salary? Is it A, on the application, during the initial or first interview, or after an offer has been extended by the recruiter or the decision maker? So, at what stage should you consider negotiating your salary? So, I'm going to give you about 60 seconds to provide a response. Okay. See quite a few. Okay, perfect, perfect. Some B's and C's out there. Got an A, okay. All right. So the answer to our question is C. So after an offer has been extended to you by the recruiter or the decision maker, this is when you want to look over the details of the offer and then decide to negotiate. So sometimes in that offer letter, or most of the time in the offer letter, it is going to include maybe bonuses, equipment, a vehicle. So there's different things that can be presented in your offer letter. Your travel expenditures sometimes is included in that. Maybe there's a gym on site and a membership. So that offer is going to be a full service package of what's being offered to you. So maybe there are some things within that offer letter that you would like to negotiate. Remote opportunity or even working hybrid is another one that is often negotiated in an offer. So just something to consider. But after the offer is extended, therefore, you'll get an opportunity to fully review what the employer is offering you and what it is that you want to accept, or is this something that you want to proceed and agree to? I've even heard in some offer letters locations. So maybe there are sister locations within a certain territory. So some people have negotiated the location that they work at so that they can be closer to home. So different things could be contributing factors to your offer. So to get us started, the art of salary negotiation, what is that? How do you approach it? So one key important crucial thing is that you want to lead with your values and more importantly, your qualifications. When you go to apply for a position, many times you look through the job description, right? So you're looking at the job description, you're looking at the expectations, you're looking at the requirements. So as you're doing that, you can think to yourself, if I'm qualified for this position, I can do a, B, C, and D of what the expectations are. So make sure you know your value, make sure you know your qualifications, and know the job description. That's very, very important to have familiarity with the job description. The job description is what the employer is looking for. This is the individual that they're considering. This is the expectations of the role. This is what your performance is going to be based off of. So it's really important to know that job description. And when you do have your opportunity to interview or even negotiate your salary, remind the employer you will be a return on investment. This is your value. This is your qualifications that you have for the role. This is what they're asking for. And those are the key crucial elements that you want to bring to the table when you start to facilitate that conversation about your salary. Make sure you conduct your research. A few resources in which you can use to begin your research about what the salary ranges are: pay scale, Glassdoor, salary list. Are any of these kind of familiar with you, or have anyone that's in attendance used these resources before? Pay scale, Glassdoor, salary list. They do provide an estimate of salaries. Sometimes they also provide good information about pros and cons of the employers and what it is that they have to offer. I see a few have, a few have not. So if these are new resources to you, perfect. Please use them. Again, salary is just one of the items that's offered on these resources, but all three of them are a great resource to just look at who is this employer, what are internal employees, or what have previous employees said about this particular organization. So do your research. That's really, really important. I see a few say, heard of these, but not really use them. I encourage you, if you do find yourself in a situation where you're negotiating your salary, or even before you interview and apply, use these particular resources to just look at the position. What are the expectations? Now, you don't have to use them to make them as a deciding factor, but just like if you're shopping on Amazon and you're looking at a product and sometimes you want to see the reviews and what are others saying, then it just kind of provides you with a gauge, or at least allow you an opportunity to look at the theme of what is being said. Maybe this is an employer that provides great work-life balance. That's what you hear repeatedly as a pro, but maybe they don't offer merit increases annually. So just a good opportunity to even do your research, because applying for a job is a job in itself. So if you do your research, then that just may help you with your information and your knowledge. All right. And avoid exaggerating your qualifications or negotiating due to personal needs or proposing ultimatums. So definitely want to steer clear of doing that. I've also heard some people copy and paste the job description onto their resume, whether they are qualified for the position or not. They're just trying to get an interview or get noticed or recognized so that they can really have a conversation during the interview with the employer. The employer knows that, and normally they can see. And if it's not the employer, the recruiter is highly aware. The applicant tracking system, which is the artificial intelligence system that they use to receive, that's the first point of contact to receive your resume, can also tell. So do your best to avoid exaggerating your qualifications. Be very specific, concise, direct, very clear of what qualifications you have for the position. And again, avoid negotiating on personal needs. So I have to have this position, or I have to make six figures, otherwise I won't be able to live the lifestyle that I desire to live. So an employer may say, do we have any other candidates in the pipeline? So just want to be very, very cautious of that. All right, so I will pause here. I'm looking at the chat. Looks like there are a few questions out there. McCall, I'll lean into you. Anything that I can answer before we move on?
Yeah, and can you hear me okay, Lola?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Courtney asked, what if the employer says, well, on the application you stated X amount, and they bring that up during the conversation?
Wonderful. So this is where your research is going to be very helpful. So when you say application, I don't want to assume, but I'm figuring that, Courtney, that's the amount that you've put on the application, not the amount that was placed in the job description, because some job descriptions have a amount as well. So your research is going to be really important, because you want to look to see what the estimate range is for your state, because it could vary by your state, it could vary by your experience, it could also vary by their budget. Maybe their budget may have changed from the time that the position was posted versus the time that they've been able to extend an offer. So some factors may contribute to that. It is appropriate to have that conversation. If that happens to you, just simply ask what may change, what has changed from now to then. This is where I found my baseline, or as I applied for the position, this was the salary I was looking forward to. Is there an opportunity for us to reach that? And if not, are there any other, if you're willing to negotiate any other factors that could compensate for that? So hopefully that was helpful.
Great. Thank you, Lola. And then just a comment, Chandler said that levels.fyi has been a
Mhm.
really helpful resource for salary research in the tech sector in particular. So in case anyone here is in the tech industry, that could be a great resource to check out. I have it open right now, and you can search by company, title, or city. So that could be another one to add to your list. So thank you, Chandler, for drawing attention to that.
Thank you. Great one.
And those are all the questions we have so far, Lola.
All right, perfect. Well, moving on along our agenda. So, what are you negotiating? So, a few things to consider. We talked a little bit about the opportunity to work remotely. That's very popular now. Of course, it was extremely popular given the pandemic, where most places required their employees to work from home. But that's very popular to still request that, or even request an opportunity to work 2 or 3 days from home and a few days in the office. That is something that you can negotiate. Now, maybe that does not contribute to your compensation, but when you're negotiating, keep in mind the employer may say, well, we may take off $200 if you decide to stay home. or they may say, well, your bonus could be 3% versus 4%. So it is still negotiation. So at the end of the day, you have to decide which is priority to you. Company car or travel allowance is also a negotiating element. Your benefits package, very important. Your medical, your dental, 401k, your PTO are really, really important factors. I have a friend who works for a healthcare company, and great compensation, great salary, but anytime they have to take off for a holiday, it's mandatory PTO. They have to use their PTO time in addition to their sick time if they take off. So that was it was eye-opening for her when she was like, I thought all companies are paid holidays. Not this one. Great compensation, but paid holidays is a required PTO day. So just when you are negotiating for yourself, think about that. Is that something that you have to use for a holiday or some other day that's required to be off? Your cell phone allowance. Are you going to receive a cell phone or even an internet allowance? So if you are opted to work remotely, if that's an option for you, are you being compensated for that? Or is your internet bill or your cell phone bill going to be the responsibility of yourself or partial for the company or the organization? Now, most companies, keep in mind, will provide you with a company paid cell phone, but if not, then is that something that you can negotiate? Your education opportunity is a very, very prime one. If you are setting your sights on continuing education, maybe you want to acquire a certification. If you're IT, teaching, even in healthcare, and you want to acquire a certification, is that something that the company will pay for? Do you have to work for them for 6 months? Can that be negotiated within your offer letter? And so most of the time, when you receive an offer letter, these are going to be some factors that should be included. If not, it is definitely appropriate to bring them up or even to ask, because sometimes if it's not in the offer letter, it may be in the benefits package. If you've had an opportunity to take just a few days to read through what is being offered to you for the position that you can tentatively accept. The other great thing too about what are you negotiating is your title or promotion. Can you work in this particular position for 6 months and then move up to a lead position or supervisor or in mid-level management? What does your future hold for you, and how does the company set you up for success? What are some metrics or targets that you need to meet in order to acquire that next level for your career promotion or elevation within the organization? So those are things that you can definitely consider. So, sample salary conversations. What are some things that you can say? We talked a little bit about the art of negotiation, what goes into negotiation, what it is that you can negotiate. We also talked about some resources. So before we start going into these conversations, because they can be very lengthy, I'll pause here. McCall, just want to do a quick temperature check for any questions I may have missed or have came up.
Yes, thank you, Lola. So Christina asked a good question. When it comes to salary ranges, what if you need to achieve the higher range and they come in mid-range and say they can't provide the high range due to the ability of merit increases?
Great question. So the high range normally is provided by most companies. Some have different metrics as to how they reach the high range by experience. So a great question to ask, particularly your recruiter, because that is going to be your advocate throughout your hiring process, is can we review my experience, or how do I reach that high range? Is that, and that could be renegotiated in your offer. It could be, well, let's get you in for 90 days. Let's reevaluate your performance, and then we can negotiate in your offer letter hitting that peak range. But based off of your current experience, we want to come in at the mid range. So please feel free to have that conversation. Start it with your recruiter, because that'll be your first point of contact, of course, and see what type of information the employer can provide you on that. Great question. Next one.
Thank you, Lola. That is, those are all the questions we have for right now.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. So, sample conversations. When I was putting this presentation together, I tried my best to, one, be considerate of time, but two, think about some examples that would be most relevant to what job seekers are looking at today. So here's our first one. If you have a new salary, So, hello, Camille. Thank you again for offering me a developer one position. I'm so excited to have the chance to join XYZ company and being a change agent for the development team. However, before accepting your offer, I'd like to request a salary of 80 to 85,000 as the range aligns with my experience, my education, and expectations of the role. So perhaps, and of course, this is an X factor or it's unknown. The job posting did not have a salary range, or as the previous question was, this was the maybe 80 was the higher range, or maybe 85 was at the higher range, or maybe it was 80 to 90. But this particular person is requesting 85. So if this is your case and it is a new salary or a new position, this would be a great way to approach it. The key theme here as we go through these samples is what solution or what is it in which why you're proposing and requesting. So in this particular case, in sample one, this range aligns with my experience. We'll be prepared to tell the employer what experience it is. And this is where, as we referenced in slide 2, know the job description. So let's just say the job description was about 7 or 8 bullet points. And if you know that your experience aligns with all 8 of them, then this is an opportunity for you to do that parallel when you're having that conversation about what aligns with your experience, because the employer is going to want to know. Not only is the employer going to want to know, this helps the recruiter to leverage and lobby for you when they go to the decision maker or even HR to request that higher salary. They can say, well, candidate A meets all of the qualifications needed. They have the certification. They have 3 years of management experience. They have a graduate or undergraduate degree. They have worked in an entry-level position that relates. So you need to make sure you know that job description and not just say it aligns, but how does it align? Be very specific and concise, as well as your expectation, and also, again, know the role. Questions on that one before I don't want to move too fast. Questions on that one?
The only question from that one, Lola, is just a clarifying question. So this person was not expecting the salary being offered at first.
Right, that is correct. And so the salary that was offered at first was probably came in a little bit lower than what they were anticipating after they reviewed the offer and what it is. Again, they knew their value and what it is that they felt they were valued at. Again, it's a negotiation, right? So the employer has the opportunity to say, well, we really wanted 6 years of experience, or we really wanted 7, but the answer is always no if you don't ask. So in this particular case, yes, that would be the answer, that's what the salary was, and they wanted to come in a little bit higher.
Perfect. Thank you, Lola. Those are all the questions for now.
Excellent. Sample 2, changed your mind after accepting an offer. Has this ever happened to anyone? I'm just curious. I know I I haven't experienced this, so I'm just curious to the audience. Has anyone changed their mind after accepting an offer? Yes. Okay. Especially when you've been applying. I've talked to people all the time. I've applied for like 10 jobs, and maybe you don't hear from anybody, then all of a sudden you get so many callbacks. So if you have changed your mind after accepting an offer, take note at this example. This is your conversation prep. Since initially accepting the job offer that came with a salary of 50,000, I have had some time to further research the position, and some new information has come to light about what is required for this role. Now, that's an optional statement. While I have remained interested in the position and would be ready to start at the same time we initially agreed upon, I would like to renegotiate the salary at a range of 55 to 60. Do you believe this would be a suitable range that we could finalize today? So I like this question and this closing because it is providing the employer with this is what it is, right? I accepted the position. I saw what the salary was initially, but maybe they went to Glassdoor, maybe they went to Pay Scale. Of course, you never want to say, I know someone internally with the same experience and they're making more than me. So that is definitely not the approach you want to take, but perhaps that additional research has come to play, and or perhaps with the offer and after the interview, some additional knowledge about the position has come to light. For example, let's just say when you apply for the position and then you make it to the interview and you start asking additional questions, maybe it's a team that's broken, or maybe the entire team has left and you got to start from scratch building a whole new team for a whole new department. So that's a little bit more work that probably was not included in the job posting. And if that is the case, then this is going to be an opportunity for you to take that approach to reconsider. And that some new information in that first paragraph, that could very well be what it is. Now, I use that as an example, but maybe there's something different. Or maybe you have a certification that's above this particular role, and you could use that certification as an opportunity to leverage the renegotiation of your salary. But I really like that closing question. Is this something we could finalize today? And that gives them an opportunity to say, I don't want to think about it, or yes, I'm glad you asked. Let's just go with the amount. We're ready to get you onboarded today. So definitely puts the ball totally back in the court of the employer. Questions about this example?
Yes, we do have questions about this one, Lola. The question that people have right now is why ask for a range instead of a specific number desired?
And this is an example. Some have asked for a range before because they want to fall into that amount. But then the other reason, instead of a specific, the rhetorical question would be, are you shooting yourself in the foot if this particular person said, well, I want 58, when in actuality, the employer may be willing to offer you 50. So the range just gives an opportunity for the employer to either meet you halfway or provide you with the salary amount that you weren't even anticipating. Maybe you had 55 in your mind because, again, the original was 50. Maybe 55 is really what you wanted, but they may say, well, we'll offer you 58. So the range just gives the employer some wiggle room as well.
Perfect. Those are all the questions related to that one. Thanks, Lola.
Sure, no worries. Sample 3. A lowball offer. I have, again, just speaking with some other professionals, I've heard this is a situation that has happened quite often, particularly if there is no salary range in the job posting. So most employers do provide a range, and they just may give you the lowball of the range anyway. So let's see how you could potentially approach this conversation if an offer is provided to you. Sample, you can say, I appreciate you sending the offer for the senior business analyst position. I am confident that I could be an asset to your team, starting with refreshing your current business requirements to create greater efficiency. Before I accept the offer, though, I would like to review the proposed salary. As I shared during the interview, I have 13 years of experience in fintech, 5 of which have been spent at a large corporation that operates much like this one. For the last 8 years, I've managed a high-performing team that has consistently exceeded their targets by 10%, which will be of great value to your organization since the person in this position would be overseeing 2 large teams. Given my background, I'm seeking a salary between 160 and 170. What can you offer me within this range? So, great way to definitely provide those concise specifics as to what qualifications you bring. And not only what qualifications, provide some quantifiable data as to what the problem, identifying that gap in that problem within the current climate in the current organization. And again, perhaps that information was discovered during an interview. Maybe it was on the job posting. But either way, here is some data points as well as some specific context as to why this person is requesting this particular salary. Now, keep in mind, there's no right or wrong, just based off of the previous question. If you want to shoot for a specific amount, maybe 165K is the annual salary that you want, you're good with that. But if you give that range, that just gives the employer an opportunity to, again, they may go lower or they may go higher. And if you want to give yourself a safety net, if 165 is where you want to go, then let your range be 165 to 170, because then you'll take the lower end if the lower end is what they're willing to offer you. So no worries with that. They don't know what your specific amount was in your mind, but giving them a range just gives some wiggle room again to play with. But with this amount of salary, this six-figure salary or any salary, five-figure, does not matter. You definitely, when you are at the negotiation table, know that job description. As in this example, any information that you can uncover about the organization on their website. Perhaps you've went on LinkedIn, you've done an informational interview with an internal employee. Maybe you were even a referral, and the person you may know of someone that's already working within that particular company or organization. Maybe they said, hey, this company pays really, really well. They normally are kind of low on the base salary, but the bonuses are come all the time. So think about any type of internal knowledge you may have before you reach the negotiation table, and make it fair. Make it fair. All right, pause there. Questions about this sample?
Yes. So Christina asked, had just mentioned the biggest obstacle is in sales. Most
Mhm.
employers want to go with a smaller salary and lean more on the bonus and commissions. How do you negotiate this situation when you need a guaranteed salary regardless of what commissions are paid?
Got it. Understood. Sales is definitely a picky one. Particularly, you are paid by your performance, you're paid by your hustle. And that's really how the company thrives. So when it comes to sales, I encourage to keep your options open, because most sales organizations are going to lean more towards not providing you with a guarantee because they haven't seen your performance. They pay you based off of how you can produce. And so I would encourage you to keep your options open. Keep your options open too for positions that can provide you with that specific salary amount. Now, you can negotiate in sales, definitely, but I'd hate to encourage you to put all your eggs in one basket, because sales definitely pays by performance. And the other thing with that, the employer's outlook, if you just switch perspectives, the employer's outlook is, if you know this is a sales position, then you are applying with the knowledge of, I have to perform, I have to produce. Like, this is how I'm going to get my return on investment. And most sales agents know that they have to manage their own book of business, because if you don't, then you won't get the money that you are trying to get. The harder you work, the more you get. So some employers feel that when they put that description out there, that's the type of talent they're attracting. Great question.
And that's everything right now. Thanks, Lola.
Yeah, no worries. Great. So did we do this one? Oh, lowball offer. Okay, we talked about that one. And okay, so this should be sample four, actually, lacking qualifications. So if you feel maybe you are a career changer, a career switcher, you have some indirect or maybe some transferable skills as they relate to a particular position, but you just don't have the specific qualifications needed for the position. And you know the job description, you know what it takes, you know that you are trainable and you're coachable, but qualifications is really what they're asking for. And you've done the interview, you've acquired the offer. Here's a way that you can approach this. I appreciate the opportunity I had to interview with you. Thank you for the offer. Show your appreciation. As you pointed out during my interview, I have worked for a health and wellness startup before, so I understand the demands of a startup, and I'm fully committed to assisting with your quickly changing business needs. Giving this, I would like to counter your offer of 35,000 to 45. Would you be able to accommodate me at that salary? So very soft approach with this one, but notice no data points were requested in this. What is mentioned though is, I've worked for a company of a similar background is used. So why that's included in this sample for lacking qualifications is, are there any similarities for the job description in which, again, that are transferable from maybe your previous skills or your previous experience? So I'll give you an example. Perhaps you are in education and you are applying for a teacher position, but previously maybe you worked in the restaurant industry. If you did some training, if you coached any other employees, doesn't mean you were in a leadership role, just mean you did some sort of training. Training is teaching in its own regard. The industry may have been different, but the transferable skills of training, teaching, coaching, observing, redirecting, correcting any mistakes, those things are very similar. Maybe you created a training guide or a training process. So this is really when you feel you're lacking qualifications that you have to dig deep in your bag to whatever transferable skills you may have that you can find that alignment or that connection. Now, maybe you're switching industries totally. There are no transferable skills and you want to base it off of your education. What the employer may say is you do have the education and much appreciated, but is there anything else that you have that you can contribute to this particular role? You can think about, have you done anything external? Again, a certification. Are you a member of a specific professional organization? Have you attended a conference that shows your commitment to this industry that you are targeting? So what have you done also outside of your education that you can tack onto your resume to show you have a commitment to this industry? And though you have not been able to acquire a full-time or gainful employment role, this is the knowledge that I possess, and this is what I have done. This is the project that I've worked on. This was my position in the project, even for my academics, that has taught me and prepared me to do forecasting operations or whatever it needed in that job posting. So when you're going to that negotiation table, skills, even if they're academic related, external, outside, that you can use to sell yourself to request a different salary range. Questions about the
No questions on this one so far, Lola.
really? Okay, normally this is a plethora of questions. They're nonstop. So lacking questions is normally definitely when I hear most of the time that how do I get the job if I don't lack qualifications? But keep in mind, for this workshop, you've gotten to the point of the job, right? So you've gotten the offer. It's just how do you negotiate your salary? And most people, if they feel they've lacked qualifications, they'll just accept any position, any pay for the position that's within the industry to get them started, which is fine. That may definitely work for your situation because you need to put something on your resume. But do note, you are well within your right to negotiate a salary. If you lack qualifications, just keep in mind, you definitely want to know what it is that you are negotiating. So perfect.
And Lola, Naomi just asked, how much do you go back and forth?
Oh, good question. Um, there is no rule book answer to how much you go back and forth, but like any negotiation, somebody's going to tap out, right? And I will be very upfront with you. If you go back and forth too much, the employer is probably going to be the first to tap out because there may be other candidates that they've interviewed, and those other candidates may be willing to accept the offer. So, I would encourage you to play your judgment on that one. Because also keep in mind, you too can tap out and say, you know what, I'm going to apply at somewhere else. Or I have an upcoming interview. I feel that I'm going to be able to land the position with that one. So I don't encourage going back and forth too much because, again, someone's going to tap out at some point. But if this is a position that you really want, then maybe consider you negotiating some other factors. If they won't budge on the salary that you want, just say, okay, perfect, excellent. Does this position come with extra PTO, or is there an opportunity to reach for PTO, or maybe even a salary promotion? So especially if it's lacking qualifications, perhaps you can negotiate. I really want to get to the next level. This is the industry I want to be in. I can see myself as a long-term career professional in this industry. What's the next title, or how can I reach that? So maybe there's other factors you can negotiate if it's not necessarily compensation.
Great. Thank
But
you,
not too much
Lola.
back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Any other questions?
Nope, no other questions right now.
All right, got it. So we have about 20 more minutes on the clock, so I'm going to move through just a few more slides. What to do if you have multiple job offers? So first and foremost, without any doubt, acknowledge that you are a rock star and you have created a awesome resume. You have really done a swell job in interviewing, because all of that takes work. I mean, it is a job again in itself to apply for a job. So modifying, customizing your resume is work. Looking for a position is work. That research that we talked about a little bit earlier, those resources, maybe talking to a mentor, maybe doing mock interviews, all of that is hard work. So if you've found yourself at the crossroad of a multiple job offer, you are indeed a rock star. And so congratulate yourself on that one. But question for the larger audience, true or false? Should you reveal to the recruiter you have an active offer elsewhere? Do you think you should reveal that information to one of the recruiters? Okay. See a couple false. See true. I like this question. Every time I do this workshop, this is my favorite question to ask. Isn't always a TNF. Some people are always thinking, oh, what should I really say? So I see trues and I see false, but the depends if the same industry. Okay. So, from the research in putting together this workshop, the actual answer is true. Now, what you don't have to state is what the salary amount is. Now you can, when you get to that negotiation table, and like Naomi said, I mean, maybe you're at step 4 of negotiation, and you're like, well, they're offering me 58. Can you match that? Maybe you can be upfront with that, but actually the official answer is true, because you want the recruiter to know that there are other offers on the table for you. You want to decide. The recruiter is your advocate. They are your support partner. They are not the decision maker. A recruiter's job is to find talent and to fill positions. That is what they are paid for. So if you inform them of that, that helps to put a little bit of warm fire behind them to have that conversation with the decision maker and say, hey, Lola has an offer right now that she is considering, but she really wants to work with us for A, B, C, and D reasons. It's close to her home. She has work-life balance, whatever the case may be. So is there any way that we can go ahead and move forward with a response on her salary request? So that's one of the main reasons why you can share that. Now, again, keep in mind, it's optional. If you feel comfortable in doing so, you don't have to. But if you decide to do so based off of the research, that's why. It will definitely help that recruiter to paint a picture of, one, why you're qualified, why you should be selected as the candidate of choice, and then why the salary amount that you're requesting should be granted to you. Keep in mind too, don't negotiate just to negotiate, right? So let's just say company A gives you the salary of 60K that you want, and company B gives you 62. Are you going to go back to company A and say, well, I mean, I'm getting 62 over here. Are you going to give me 62? Or are you going to give me free childcare for 12 months? It's not encouraged or recommended to negotiate just because you have to negotiate. There is a risk. Again, the employer can tap out at any time. So, and you can tap out at any time, of course. So make sure when you come to that crossroad and you have multiple offers, you're looking at the pros for each, and you're also looking at the cons. So you want to just analyze both, look at the parallels, and which one most aligns with what it is that you want to do. A, is a professional. 2, compensation that you want, and 3, the skills and qualifications and performance demands that you're going to be able to meet. So that's very important. And then last but not least, be likable and set the tone. You can be won over. Does not mean you will be, but it means maybe you can be. So keep that in mind. Again, the recruiter is that liaison. They are here to support you to fill that role. They're also here to help the hiring manager acquire great talent such as yourself. So make sure you're likable. Again, express your gratitude, your appreciation, but that does you can keep that face of still interested, I'm still considering, even though maybe in the back of your mind you've already made your decision. But stay likable at all times. Questions on this?
No questions so far, Lola.
Okay, perfect. All right, so here are some clarifying questions that you can ask when you have your offer. So we talked a little bit earlier with that opening question of at what point should you negotiate? So once you have your offer letter and you're looking it over and you're considering it, how was this offer calculated? Is a great question that you can ask the recruiter. Was it your experience? Was it your education? Was it certifications? How was this offer calculated? Are there any opportunities to increase my salary in other ways? Other things that I can do? That title promotion is an option. Maybe a shift. Maybe you have an opportunity to work for tens, or help others on projects or teams. What is included in the compensation package in its entirety, including benefits? Can we negotiate other factors besides your salary? Be the first to state when a decision will be provided. Very, very important. Again, it is an opportunity to negotiate, but at the end of the day, the decision is yours to move forward or not. So, keep that definitely in mind, and also very important to provide the employer with the timeline. They may have other applicants in the pipeline, they may not. That's not your concern at the time. Your concern is this an offer I want to accept? Is this something, are they giving me what I want? But be very concise, very upfront and straightforward as to when you're going to give them a decision. That's very helpful for them. It also sets a great tone of the type of professional that you are, and how your work ethic may be. If you're very laissez-faire about, I think I'll get back to you at the end of the week, or can I get a week to think about it, then that in itself may have the recruiter or even the decision maker say, why is it going to take them so long? We went through this entire process. They seemed like they wanted the job. Now, why do they need an extra 7 days to decide? So just be very intentional about when you intend to respond, because not only is it reflective of being able to provide a decision, just it also is reflective of the type of employee you will be. All right, a few things to remember. Some companies are first offer, best offer. So definitely out of your control if that is the case. You can definitely negotiate. You can ask to negotiate, but some companies have that rule. First offer, best offer. That's what's within their budget. That's all they can do. You must know the going rate. So do your research, pay scale, a salary list. Someone shared levels, I believe was the one for tech companies. So do your research the best that you can. There's also Career One Stop. We have some great resources as well on our site. Career One Stop, ONET is one. McCall, help me out if I'm forgetting any that I can think of.
Yeah, I think you covered all of those. And we do have a couple questions whenever you're ready for those.
Sure, sure. I'll go right ahead.
Yeah, so the first one, when a recruiter asks you in the beginning if you're okay with the salary, would that negate the salary negotiation if they did offer the job?
Great question. Not necessarily, because if they ask you that in the beginning, perhaps that's the initial interview and you have not completed a secondary interview with maybe the hiring manager or whoever you're going to be working with, and some other things have come about, and you can say, hey, I had my follow-up interview, it went very well. Few things that we discussed, again, I'll use the reference I used earlier. All the team members are gone. I have to build a team from scratch. I really want to know, is there an opportunity for me to renegotiate? So you want to have some leverage and some context around why you're going to push back on what you originally stated. That's going to be really important. You don't want to push back just to push back, but you want to definitely have some context. So that's just an example. Next question. Great one. That was a good one.
Great. The second question, Shannon said, often the interviewer asks what salary you're expecting early on. Can you
Mhm.
delay your answer until you hear more about the duties or ask them what the budget for the position is?
So I don't encourage you to delay, because the duties are posted in the job description. And so you've applied because that's how you got to the recruiter. So it would be um the recruiter could consider that you already know what the duties are since you've had the job posting, or you're familiar with it, or at least with the job title, you know kind of what's expected. So I would be prepared though to have a range. So I wouldn't not say anything, but I would just think of a range, and that's where your research is going to come in to be able to help at least leverage that range. So the recruiter at the time you provide the range could say yes, they could say no. And again, I mean, range moderately. Some people say shoot for the stars. I don't encourage that because there's factors that go into it: your state, your experience, again, company budget, their performance. So range moderately, of course, and keep those factors in mind, but come with some sort of range based off of the knowledge that you have from the posting.
Thanks, Lola. Those are the last two questions we have so far.
Wonderful. So at the third bullet, when you get an offer, ask for time. Ask for time to think about it. Ask for time to consider it. I know this is not always the case. Sometimes people get job offers on the spot. Sometimes this is the company I want. I've been waiting to work for the New York Times all my life. This is what I want to do. I'll take anything. Maybe your circumstance is you've been waiting to get a job and you have to have a job now. So if that's the case scenario for you, definitely understand. But if not, take your time to really look through that offer, look through what it is, look through that fine print. Again, I use the example of a friend of mine works for a great company, great compensation, but every time a holiday comes around, especially later in the year, right, when they're back to back, you get Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. I mean, you have to use your PTO time for that regardless. So look at your offer letter thoroughly. Use the time to do that. Talk about it with a friend or family, your support team, to make sure this is what aligns with your lifestyle and what it is that you want to do before accepting the offer. The other thing is, if you are in person and you're negotiating your salary, or virtual, read the room. Don't over negotiate. Stay positive, not pushy though. So again, this is where that being show your gratitude comes into place, but definitely read the room. I think, again, the question was, how much should you negotiate? If you're over negotiating too much, then that could seem a little pushy, and the employer may say, man, it's nothing we can do to please this person. So I don't know if this is the type of individual we want on our team. So stay positive. Also stay firm to your values and your qualifications as much as possible, but note that if it's something that you are willing to consider and you're willing to do, then, and the employer is best offer, first offer, or this is all that they have to offer, just keep that in mind. It may come to that. And if possible, request the offer in writing. Some employers are able to provide you something in writing up front. Some are not. So, but if possible, see if you can look at it in writing. That'll give you an opportunity when you are taking your time to be able to digest everything that's being offered to you. All right, so that pretty much concludes our presentation. I'm going to take a few minutes now before we solicit questions. We have about 7 minutes on the clock. I stopped sharing just for one moment. I'm going to pull up on our CPD website where you can find some additional salary negotiation tactics. Give me just 1 second, and then I will reshare. All right. McCall, can you see my screen okay?
Yep, for me right now, it says you're starting to share content, so it hasn't populated quite yet. There it is.
Okay, perfect, excellent. So this is our career professional development team page. This is where you can find much of our resources. Maybe some have visited this page before, maybe you have not. But if you have or have not, here is our menu bar at the very top where it says career tools, and it says get the job over here in the resource library. Just want to click on those items, and if you look at the menu service bar on the left, you'll see salary negotiation. You click that, and here's some additional resources. So there's pay scale, salary, I think we talked about that, the guide, ZipRecruiter salaries by major, how to negotiate salaries, 37 tips that you should know, how to get started, doing your research, very important. I know I shared just a few, but here's an additional listing of them. Here's some topics on covering the essentials. Be prepared to discuss more than money. We talked a little bit about this evening, and then putting it all together. When you're negotiating a salary for a new job, even if you're an internal employee, and I was shocked we didn't get any questions about how to leverage your salary internally, but when you're requesting a raise internally, maybe someone's left the company or the company has expanded and you've taken on new job duties, and now it's time for your performance evaluation. How do you request a raise? How do you approach that conversation? That's also a internal salary negotiation topic. So practice. You can reach out to an advisor such as myself, McCall. Again, we have a great team, strong team of very well knowledgeable and experienced advisors that can help role play with you how that conversation could go, what it sounds like. We will take in consideration not only your perspective, but also the perspective of the employer that may be very, very helpful to you. So just some things to keep in mind. And we are at the last 4 minutes, so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm also going to take the time to stop the recording.